Hello again, Struck. Today I aim to answer a few questions about The Last Stand Aftermath, such as what the Struck is, The Last Stand Aftermath. I'm gonna share my impressions of the game while explaining what the game is all about, what systems, what things you should expect from the game if you're planning on getting it. Hopefully that would make it clear to you whether the game is worth your purchase or not, as a potential customer and a potential player, and hopefully you enjoyed the video. Buckle up, let's go. I want to just say a few words about the story before we begin with the more serious subject. The story is that we are an infected person. The world population has been reduced down to 5%, and there's a bunch of zombies everywhere. And humanity, as usual in those games, has made several outposts, and those outposts are defended. They're like fortresses that the zombies cannot invade easily, but humanity has to venture out to collect supplies and research and all sorts of things. And here's where we come. Infected humans that are eventually gonna die, so they're sending themselves by their own volition to a suicide mission. On a suicide mission to help hopefully recover some useful resources and gain some useful knowledge to pass down before we pass away. Every time your hero is defeated, your playable character is defeated, you would have an option to select between a few new survivors, like the previous one, infected ones. This is completely randomized, and sometimes you would have soldiers, you would have nurses, you would have engineers. See, right now I just wanted to show you this firsthand. So we have Animal Hand with a specific loadout, runner loadout, and a colonist loadout. And they all are different, and there's several. I don't know the exact number, but as I mentioned, there's soldiers, there's nurses, there's some sorts of engineers, there's scouts. So in this case, I'm probably going to take the runner. And once you select that guy, keep in mind you would earn experience based on how far you reached with your previous previous volunteer you were controlling. There are a few things I want to mention in the base. First of all, here is where you spend knowledge, more about that in a moment. Here is where you spend supply points, more about that in a moment as well. And here are some NPCs that can give you some background story. Here is your workbench, again, I'm gonna have separate sections for that. And here is your armory, where you can manage your gear. So this is our base of operations, this is where our volunteers are. When you're ready, what you do is you get into that car, and from here you decide where to go. That would be probably one of the last segments to show you. What is knowledge? What the struck is knowledge in this game? Well, knowledge you gain by collecting certain things. It could be some magazines, it could be some notes. As you explore the areas, you would find certain things that bring you knowledge, and knowledge you use for body upgrades, combat upgrades, survival upgrades, and engineering upgrades. In terms of engineering upgrades, you can see there's several blueprints. There's things that give you starting fuel, engine minus engine damage, plus ignition speed, plus refuel speed, repair speed. You can, I guess, upgrade the backpack. There's modified radio, allows you to locate hidden survivor drops. Then this that allows you to upgrade radius without using batteries. Herc codes, copies of various herc codes that may give access to herc facilities, which is, I think, something I would recommend to get kind of early in the game, because who knows, maybe there's some vaccines in there. Bolt cutters, etc. You can upgrade all sorts of things here. In terms of survival upgrades, you can expect things like action speed, like chance to find more ammo, chance to find more medical items, or food, or fuel, or things that give you more knowledge points from scavenged knowledge items, or earning more XP when a volunteer dies. Keep in mind, most of those things, actually I think all of those things, can go up to level 4 except a few of them. Few of those only can be upgraded once, unlocked once, where others can be upgraded several times. In terms of combat upgrades, you have unarmed, melee damage, knockdown damage, stun damage, melee attack speed, explosive damage, fire damage, throw distance, pistol, long gun, automatic rifle damage, reload speed, which I think is good to get early in the game, aimed damage, critical chance. In terms of body upgrades, you have things like melee resistance, infection from all sources, reduced poison resistance, fire resistance, movement speed, sprinting stamina cost reduction, stamina increase, melee stamina cost reduction, dodge stamina cost reduction, stamina regeneration increase, faster exhaustion recovery, door kicking damage increase, and door kicking stamina decrease. So once you collect knowledge, you can either wait for your run to finish and spend it here in this place by just selecting what you want and then investing into that thing, or you can try and find some radios. Try and find some radios out in the open, and that would let you transfer the knowledge via radio before your hero dies. Keep in mind, knowledge you retain after your hero dies, the knowledge from the previous one remains. It's account wide, so from one volunteer to another it will carry over. The next crucial system of the game, the next layer, is supply. The supply system, where you earn supply points by completing certain things, as well as finding certain supply caches and transferring those to your car's trunk, because after you die someone goes there and recovers the vehicle and brings it back. So with that supply, you can go to the supply depot and get all sorts of things, which is separated under insurance, which lets you get 3 random items from your inventory transferred for your next volunteer if you die. Knowledge, which pretty much gives you certain times it would be tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 knowledge, so it would be like 5, 10 or 20, or I think it was 10, 15, 20, which would cost some supply points, or you can unlock certain loadouts. So certain loadouts would not appear until you unlock them from here. Or you can even get some equipment to start you off, to jumpstart your run. I think what's good to invest into at the beginning is knowledge. So you can unlock some general upgrades, but if you want certain loadouts like an enforcer or a ranger, obviously it's good to invest into those as well. Gear insurance is also not a bad thing to invest into, but I think knowledge is the best thing to invest at the beginning to jumpstart your run, your progression upgrades. Now let's talk about crafting. There are 2 places where you can craft. Place number 1, a workbench, which allows you to craft certain things that only require the tools from the bench. As you experiment with certain parts, you would see that the recipes unlock. For example, scrap and AK-47 lets you get an AK-47. Racks and clean water is bandages. Although I've noticed that those bandages, I seem to only be able to make those on a fire. I can't make them while I'm out in the open, because out in the open you can craft some things without components, but maybe the bandages you can craft in the tool station as well, because it still shows up in the recipe. There's medkits you can make with bandages and alcohol. Again, you cannot make it on the fly, you need fire, and I'm not sure if it works in the workbench, but if it shows up under the recipes here, it probably does work. There are certain things you can make by creating melee parts. Melee parts you make by scrap and tape, and then you can upgrade things like a board to make it stronger, or a pipe to make it a war pick. Stuff like that. For example, melee parts and a brick is a warhammer, which is interesting. Scrap and a rack gives you knuckle dusters. Oil filter and scrap is improvised suppressor, and so on. Cannon firearm parts is improvised shotgun. As for firearm parts, you get them from gear and scrap. Again, there's all sorts of recipes you will unlock as you keep experimenting. You just need one component and then you need another component, and that it will give you either a known or if it's known recipe, it will show you the result. So in terms of fire, you can see you can make some herbal antidotes, herbal endurance, herbal remedy, and a lot of cocktails with racks and alcohol and stuff like that. So there is some crafting, not too advanced, but just enough to make you experiment with things and do some little of science to figure out new recipes. In terms of the armory, I'm not sure exactly how it works. Most likely, if you have that insurance where when you die you get some gear, maybe it goes into the armory, or maybe you can deposit stuff before you run into the armory, and then take it out later when you want to. I'm not sure how. I'm unable to put stuff in my armory right now, so I'm not sure why that is. But there is an armory, and apparently you would be able to store items in it and pick items from it. How and when, I'm still to figure out. Again, it's just first impressions. I'm still to figure out some of the things in the game, but I think the basics, the most important things I figured out and tried to explain in this video. Now there are other things, such as this mural, which is just a bunch of story, background story, like memorial kind of altar here, which is a nice little touch, not something related to the gameplay in any way, just a little bit of extra war, but it's nice to see it. So when you're ready to venture out on a expedition or whatever you want to call it, you go into that vehicle, you light it up, and that's when you would travel with your vehicle. Keep in mind, there are some randomized parts. When it comes to the gameplay, you have some choices. Which zone do I go to next? Based on what you see in that zone, you'd have to make that choice. I'm going to quickly show you the map and explain this. So you would start with Uptown, and after you finish Uptown for the first time on your first run, every time you start, you would start from this neighborhood kind of location. And then you have options. Do I go up there? And you see this one would cost me 2 fuel, so I would need 2 fuel. And you see it's a neighborhood zone. Or do I go to this one, which also would cost 2 fuel, and both of those would damage your engine with 1. The danger level in both of those is different. This is 1, this is 2. And you can see here there is a Herc station. Herc stations are important because there is something called viral energy, this purple thing. As time goes, it keeps draining your HP bar. When it reaches a full HP bar, that HP bar gets walked out and you get a permanent mutation. So you have to decide, after I'm done with this zone and I've gotten whatever I came here for, it could be fuel, it could be something else, where do I go? Do I go to this place, which is more difficult, but there's a Herc station, and the Herc station would give you an injection, and the injection you inject and it lets you for a certain short duration suppress the viral energy, so you would kind of keep it in place. It won't progress until the injection runs out, and the injection will run out, so it's not a permanent solution to the infection. Now, once you've made your choice, let's say you decide to go here, then you have to choose, do I go here or do I go there? And here, this is a neighborhood with 2 types of danger, danger level 2, let's call it. And this one is large neighborhood with danger level 1. Let's say you go to the large neighborhood with danger level 1. Then there's a neighborhood with danger 2 and a safe house with danger 0, because in safe houses it's like a checkpoint where you have a crafting station, crafting bench, you have fire, you have a bunch of resources you can get, so a bunch of good stuff. Let's say you took the safe house. Now you have to decide, do I go to the military outpost danger level 1 or do I go to the supply cache, which has danger level 2, but it also has a store from which I can buy certain things. with research points, knowledge points. If you decide to go here or here, there is only one choice, which is the military outpost next. And after that there is a Herc blockade, which I've never reached the Herc blockade, but it's always danger level 3. What happens when you beat that, I cannot tell you, I have no idea. But it either would start a new act or maybe return you to the base, which is called the end, by the way. In terms of combat, you have a ranged weapon, you can actually have 2 ranged weapons at once, and melee weapons. Now, when you first vote into a map, revolt, and if you saw me just revolting, there is that green, thing. Let me show you again. See, I'm revolting, and when I press R again, wow, it's in the green bar, it immediately revolts the remaining magazine. Some weapons are not as accurate as others, so keep that in mind. And again, different loadouts would start with different set of weapons, melee weapons, and utility items. Some enemies would explode when near you, so pay attention to those big boys. They explode and they poison you, and when you're poisoned you take much more infection damage, and your HP gets drained periodically. Now, there are things like this that I found, which is fuel. The fuel you need to take to your car. If you want to progress to other maps, you need fuel. So you gotta make sure to refuel your car every now and then. Keep in mind, sometimes you will need 2 fuel to move to a next map, sometimes 1. So make sure you always have at least 2 fuel in the car to make sure you can progress to the next one. And yeah, as you explore certain buildings, certain parts of the map, you will keep finding weapons. Melee weapons, ranged weapons, you would find knowledge like this one that I just found. There's gonna be all sorts of things to find. Materials for crafting, materials to consume. Just like I found that fuel, in the same way you might be able to find a supply bundle, and that supply bundle you need to take to the trunk, the back trunk of the car. And when you're ready with that zone and you think you've found enough, you can just move on to your car and move to the next zone. I'm just gonna do it to show you. You light it up and you do this, and then it tells you, okay, pick the next zone. And as I said, let's go there, and that's pretty much how this goes. Now let's talk about the pros and cons in the game, in Last Stand: The Aftermath. I would start with the pros. I would say that randomized levels and map choices for me is a pro. For you it might be a con, but that's how it is with those games. Randomness to a certain extent is good. I think I personally prefer the isometric camera. It's refreshing from all those back for refund types of games that are first-person zombie shooters or third-person. I like the isometric camera more in this type of a game. I think it fits nicely. I think the combat system is good enough. You have a melee weapon, which has durability and can break, but you can still use your bunches of punches. You have 2 slots for ranged weapons. The reloading system is nice, and I like that little mini game where you have to press the reload button again during the green bar to reload quickly. And there's increases for reload speed, which makes it better eventually. Sure, it starts off bad, but you get stronger and stronger. That's how it is in those games. I like the visual effects, sound effects, and the soundtrack. They seem good enough and fit the game. There is some gear diversity, not much, but some gear diversity, which, thanks to another pro, the cool crafting system gets a little better eventually once you get things going, once you increase the drop rates. There is a very decent permanent upgrade system in terms of knowledge. I would like to see more things added to that system, but for now I think it has plenty of stuff there to improve, to make the game easier for you. So the more you play, the easier the game gets based on how much you upgrade. It's how it is in roguelite games. Now, in terms of cons, there isn't much enemy variety. I would like to see more zombie types. There's also not many level stages, or at least it seems so. It seems so when I open the map. There are just a few stages until you reach the final one, and then I haven't reached it or beaten it, so I don't know what happens after that. Is there a second act? If there isn't a second act or a second zone to go to, then that's definitely something they might want to work on in terms of how many levels and stages there are. But I guess they wanted to avoid the game getting too difficult with all the mutations, so time is of the essence, so that's probably why this is justified to not have that many stages, so that by the time you reach it you're not fully mutated, unless you let yourself be, unless you're super slow. Now, there's barely any quests or side quests, but do we really need any though? In such a game, some people would think that quests and side quests are good, but I'm not sure if we need any in the game. But it would be nice to have some sort of a system that at least gives you bounties to kill X amount of zombies every time to earn more supply points, for example, or to earn knowledge on zombies or whatever. Maybe. Now, randomized volunteer selection between just two. I'm not a fan of only having three, my bad, three. If there were 4 or 5 to pick from, it would have been nice. Just 3 seems a little, but I guess they really wanted this to be a part of the RNG, what type of class and loadout you pick. The starting drop rates are terrible, but you can upgrade them with knowledge. Some might get discouraged at the beginning, seeing how little ammo drops, and they're forced of using their punches because they can't find any melee weapons or any bullets, and they keep finding ranged weapons but no bullets for those ranged weapons, and there's no salvage system that lets you turn unnecessary weapons into scrap. You can just drop them. So yeah, it would be nice to add some sort of salvage system, and to maybe slightly increase the base drop rates, even if it means nerfing the upgraded drop rates of things. Now, something I've noticed is that most mutations are pretty boring. It would be nice to consider the mutation system one of the best things in the game in terms of potential, but it seems kind of wasted, because you could have made it go super crazy and added some special abilities that come with mutations, like procs, procs that do AoE damage on kill or on crit or on hit, stuff like that, or something that does damage over time to nearby enemies, nearby zombies. There are so many ways that this system can go crazy, so put your imagination to the limits of it, and just go crazy with that mutation system. This is one of the best things about the game. Don't waste it with boring mutations like now. Now, the Armory system could use a proper explanation. I'm still not sure how to use it, when to use it. So far, whenever I start a new game, I cannot put anything in the Armory, and there's never anything there, even when I have my insurance. But maybe I need to experiment more with it too. Maybe it's on me and not on the system. I think it's time to remind you that you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. And click on that bell button so you don't miss any notifications when I upload content like this, or other types of reviews, content like build videos, if I manage to find a game that motivates me to make build videos again. And other things you could expect is upcoming games videos that I've started making since recently, and all sorts of guides and information videos for the games I enjoy playing or testing. Another thing to know about my YouTube channel is that there's memberships, and if you are a member, which is a monthly payment, which you can cancel anytime you feel like it, you get access to emotes and badges that I have drawn myself. Another thing to know about members is that optionally you can contact me and request some tutorials regarding After Effects and Adobe Premiere and Adobe Photoshop, just the basics. But if you feel like you want to be content creator as well or need some help with the basics of those softwares, we can do a session on Discord where I can share my screen and teach you some ropes. So thanks again for watching this video. Keep it cool. Until next time, Struck Up and goodbye.